Really smart, Andrea Dalton, Mary Gill and Steve Flitton. And what I suppose the question I'm going to pose is like, what for your context is the value of accreditation?
From our perspective, it's really, really important. I think for us, we engage with women that have very low educational attainment. Some of them would have left school primary or very, low secondary level education. And to come into a project that's very, very welcoming and to be supported, the way we support them. And I think an awful lot of community projects support their participants. They provide all sorts of support like childcare, basic materials and one-to-one support, moral support, just the encouragement to get through and get a nationally accredited certificate. I mean, the personal development for women like that is huge. You often see people, I mean, we had one particular woman that was in her 60s that got a FETAC level 3, and it was like she had got a PhD. The development was huge for her, and for young women that the education system has failed, young lone parents. I think the bottom line is people that come to us, they come into a centre, they come to the centre, they come to us to do a course. They're not going anywhere else. These people are not going to engage in the formal education sector, and it's huge.
Does anybody else want to come in on specifically as well in terms of what community ed has to offer in terms of accreditation?
Okay, let's put the two things together. Community ed is an essential part of the whole community, of the whole education system. I think we have to start there. Education is not chronological, and we know learning. So we hope the QQI know that as well. We keep saying it. The fact that we can offer accredited courses is hugely important for our learners. Because if you take a local centre like ours, we don't do anything except community education. We do exactly what it says on the tin. We've had a checkered career where we've moved home about 7 times in the course of 10 years. And in all of that time, we've managed to increase the number of learners who come to us. And the reason they come is because we're offering them the highest standard that we can possibly offer them. And we pushed for courses, not FETAC accredited people, FETAC accredited courses from a very early stage, because it gave us access to a national standard. And then we were able to stand over what we were offering and say, this is a high national standard. You can come to a local centre, but you can achieve a national standard. Now I think that's hugely important for people who were failed by a system beforehand. Suddenly they find there is another way. Education does not mean sitting down and having stuff thrown at you. Education means participation, it means sharing. It means learning all of us together, and that's what we do.
Great, succinctly put.
I just think, picking up on what Mary said there, that it's important for us to have autonomy in order that we can satisfy the needs of people who are hard to reach, who have been failed by previous education systems. And what you don't want with these people is to have them have to deal with another system that's going to terrify them. Because a lot of these people, because of the supports that they need, because of the fact that they have been marginalised to a large extent, don't want to create a system that's going to further marginalise them. And what community education does is it brings them in to a system in a way that's acceptable to them, in a way that doesn't fill them with fear and loathing and trying to fill out application forms, or trying to go through the CAO system, trying to go through SUSI. That's terrifying for people that we deal with. So our job is to bring them in and bring them up to the level where they're able to deal with things like application forms, CAO, all that sort of thing. And that's quite important for the learner, and it's important for the communities around the learner, because we have a direct link with a lot of the further education colleges don't have.
In order to protect the accreditation system, I see a place for non-accredited and accredited training in community education. My biggest fear prior to this was that accreditation was going to kill parts of community ed because funders require accreditation. But there is a place, and I think both are accredited, should be available to our learners. The biggest challenge I see is that funders require, a lot of funders, particularly say the BTI, require accredited learning. Yet the money is now coming down through VCs. Some VCs are imposing that we use their accreditation system, their QA, so community centres are losing the autonomy of maintaining their own. Therefore, they're losing that flexibility as well. They're being prescribed the tutors to deliver the work. They're being prescribed the number of hours that they need to deliver to achieve this accreditation. So, what I would like to hear from the QQI, maintain the linkages or the support small community centres who might have the same resources as large VCs to maintain their QA, to maintain their ability to offer accreditation in their own right, as opposed to having to go through which will be the LETBs. That it's very important to make sure that small community groups, that the accreditation system won't become too big, that it's not manageable for small community groups who actually can access the people who are the hardest to reach.
The challenges. So does anybody else then have a challenge that they see they face at the moment?
Heard frightened the life out of me was around the cost element involved. There was a question from the floor to the QQI, and it was would our FETAC accreditation automatically transfer to QQI accreditation? And the answer was not necessarily, but we would be well on the way to QQI accreditation. And the girl that did the presentation also spoke around the cost of validation, the cost of certification, the cost, everything seemed to have a cost attached to it. And I think community projects currently are stretched to their pin of their collar, finance-wise, and I would be afraid that an added financial cost on projects would make them veer towards using someone else's accreditation rather than their own. And I think it's really important for the community sector that they maintain their own, validation, get their own accreditation and validation. And under QQI, and I'd be afraid that the cost implication would push us in another direction.
And I suppose today is about showing the value, why it's important, and what are the challenges, and to have them out in the open so we can discuss it with the QQI. Not that you're responsible for everything that comes up, and that's not the idea of this. The idea is for people to air honestly what are the fears that they have around this, and also, and in doing that, looking at how we can address them, how as a network we can support that, and looking at is there specific allowances that could be made for community education groups and that kind of thing. So I'll continue. Does anybody else want to voice a concern or just uncertainty, something that you would like clarification?
One thing that I'd be kind of fearful for, I work yesterday I was around the social welfare office giving out leaflets for courses. And there is a huge push because of the unemployment figures, because of the problem of long-term unemployment, to try and get people into education at some level. Now, what makes community education centres unique is that they can offer short courses that will still lead people onto the road to employment or further education, but it doesn't lead them into a large institution where they can get lost and they can find that they either have to drop out because of other commitments, or because they've lost their fire in their belly, or because they've just gotten frustrated. That the benefit of community organisations like ours and like Marion's and everybody else here is that we provide a gateway to these people. If we're going to be brought under a large institution or under an umbrella, are we going to be able to offer those short accredited courses at level 3, level 4, level 5, leading people right up to the kind of higher levels that they wouldn't be able to get into without having that entry point? And that's, I think, one of the things that makes us unique things that makes you special and the things that make community education work. And it does work. It's been proven to work. And as Mary was saying earlier, without the community education centres, how many certificates would FETAC have given out over the last 8-9 years? Probably not as many as they have. Thousands of people have gotten either component certificates or full major award certificates because of community education that wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really important point. At the moment, FETAC is a nationally recognised qualification. If you listen to ads on the radio, it's great to hear that employers are now looking for FETAC level 5 or above. Well, you know what? We made that happen. Not the VECs, not FETAC itself, sorry, but it didn't. We did it because we pushed it and we showed people the value of it. And our learners learned that it was going to be worthwhile. And it was an uphill job in the beginning, as was getting a QA. But we got out there and we did it with very little resources. We've now got QAs and we all worked very hard to get them. And I reckon we should push very, very hard to hold on to them. They're good, they do what they say. Why would we change something that's not broken?